Hey folks, my name is Michael Cox and welcome to the Heartwork Podcast. All right, today we're jumping in. If you tuned in last week, we talked about us and what the concepts of us is, or how that is impacted in mine and Coloma's life. Today we're jumping in, and what does that look like as a foundation of our home? And so I'm going to set the foundation for some things that are going to lead into what's going to be a great conversation with our three boys here in the next few weeks. And so you don't want to miss that. About a year ago, I was reading one of Tony Evans' book. It's called The Kingdom Man. And reading this book, he provided this insight and some information about how he engaged with his boys when they were teenagers and preteens leading into teenage years. And one thing that he talked about in there is about age 13. And so if I miss some details, y'all go read the book. It's going to be good and it's worth it anyway. But about age 13, what he did was he would give his boys a specific necklace. And if I remember correctly, it was kind of a heart necklace. And what that necklace symbolized was their devotion to becoming healthy, strong leaders in their home, therefore husbands. He talked about establishing this expectation for them being excited about becoming husbands and fathers. Like, I don't remember before this time in reading this book ever really even hearing it talked about this concept of, hey, I want to develop into my boys this idea of excitement of their future. And sometimes what I think we hear more about the excitement of what is our career going to be and what are we going to do to make money and all those different things, which is important. But what I didn't hear with him was, I want my boys to be excited about becoming fathers and help prepare them about becoming husbands and really doing the work to whatever's being established in them now to be going to be great husbands and to be great fathers. And so this necklace was a symbol of that, of saying, we're going to do the work. I am going to mentor and disciple you to become the greatest husbands that you can be, and be excited about that process. And when they found their spouses, this was kind of cool. Maybe it's like the old school promise ring kind of thing, but what they would do is once they got their spouses or found their spouses, it was time for them to give that necklace over to their spouses, basically making a commitment saying that I am now yours. I am leaving my parents' home and I'm establishing a home with you. But it was this excitement to begin building this expectation of, hey, I want to be a father and I want to be a great husband. Again, I recognize that's not everybody's goal. That's not everybody's purpose, but that's what we're talking about here. It's my podcast, so I can do it. So we're talking about specifically about becoming husbands, about becoming fathers. I have three boys, and so that becomes a focus for me. One thing I want to be really clear about, this isn't about perfection. So hopefully when you tuned into the episode where my wife Coloma and I were on, you didn't hear anything in there about two perfect people, because what I can tell you right now, it doesn't exist. Perfect people do not exist. So therefore, the perfect marriages do not exist. So that is not what we're talking about. However, I want to be really, really clear, and I want to stand in confidence that we are constantly doing the work on our relationship as husband and wife to do the very best that we can do as mother and father. And there's intention behind that. And sometimes, just like we talked about last week in marriage, sometimes we can step into marriage just kind of thinking, oh, it's going to work because we said I do and I like this person, they look good or whatever it might be. The other can start happening for kids. We can just have children and think it's just going to happen. And unfortunately, it does not happen that way. It just isn't. Our world is not wrapped up in our children. Are we very involved in their lives? Are we very much a part of what they do? Yes. But our total being is not wrapped up into our lives. And hopefully the vice versa is the same, that their lives aren't wrapped up in us. However, they are fully aware. Make that really clear. They're fully aware that my wife is priority in my life, and vice versa. And sometimes that can get off. And again, it doesn't mean that it happens all the time. That's not what we're talking about. But our boys are fully aware how much I love my wife. Actually, it's kind of funny sometimes that when we decide to go on a date, or we want to be gone, like we did our first overnight getaway in San Antonio probably about a year ago, and left the boys by themselves. They get excited, one, because it gives them independence and get to hang out, maybe eat what they want to eat, stay up late, whatever it is. They get some excitement. But what I can tell you is they know that in our home that we're going to make a priority. So therefore, we're going to go on dates. We're going to do stuff that is for me and her, and that doesn't include them. And so we make that a priority. The other thing is, what do they say? Like, I think it's really important, maybe to slow down just a little bit, even as we step into this, is we were pretty bold and decided one day we were going to just sit down and we're going to ask our boys if they were looking forward one day, looking forward to being husbands. In all vulnerability, I asked them, what in our marriage have they observed, and what about it in that marriage that makes them want to be married? So let me repeat that. We asked them, all right, so if they're looking at our marriage, what is it they observe that makes them want to be married? What is it they observe that makes them want to be husbands and fathers one day? I'm going to just tell you right now, give it a try. There's some humbling in it, humbling in the fact that they made some observations that might have been a little, didn't feel good. But also the response was pretty amazing, pretty shocking. And listening to our boys, and you're going to get to hear about this, you're going to get to hear the good, bad, and ugly when we talk to them and bring them in. But what we heard from them is they saw two parents that loved each other. They saw two parents who loved God, that try to enjoy each other, that we laugh together. All these different things that we weren't sure were obvious, that we weren't sure that if they would even recognize these things going on in our lives. And so we just were a little bold. And some of that was, hey, let's have this conversation about what example are we setting? Sometimes I think we're doing a good job, but we were vulnerable enough to say, hey, what do y'all think? What are you experiencing from mom and dad? And they opened up, and you're going to get to hear some of those details as we bring them in and walking through. I'll just tell you this up front, and maybe I'll repeat it later, is I'm not prompting them. And so when they come in, they know they're going to be on the podcast. They're coming in one at a time. I want you to authentically hear from them what they observe, good and bad, from our relationship. So what does that mean? Setting the example. Like, how do you set the example for what's going on in your relationship, what's going on in your home, but also setting them up for the day that, if the Lord allows, for them to have spouses and have a family. The one thing I would say that I see in counseling, I see in connecting with people, is don't avoid conflict. I think as I get to do couples work and get to connect with couples, oftentimes you hear couples are like, I never saw my parents fight. I never saw them have difficulty. So I don't know what to do in conflict. And so they go and they get into a relationship and conflict happens and they think the world is coming out from underneath them because my spouse doesn't agree with me or my spouse doesn't like how I'm doing something. And so therefore I must not stay married because they suddenly don't know how to walk through conflict. And so don't avoid conflict. That doesn't mean it's time to pull out the boxing gloves and have fights in front of your kids. That's not what we're talking about. It is being able to know, hey, it's really healthy for them to see you lean into conflict, and how you work through it begins to help establish in them how to differently engage when they have their own relationships. That's even prior to getting to marriage. If they're learning how to work through conflict, they're going to use those tools even with their friends and their peers now. So allow them to see that, but also allow us to, you heard me talk about it last week, and I bring it back on purpose, is also don't be afraid of letting them see you have some affection. I think it's just this sense of maybe that's too weird or whatever. You want your kids kind of excited about or telling you to stop because some of that stuff is too mushy or what it is. Let them see you slap your wife slap you on the butt. Let me slow that down. Allow that to happen where there are opportunities where they see that you're still attracted to each other, that you still enjoy each other. They see us hug, they see us kiss before we leave and afterwards and anything like that. All of that is part of learning how to be good husbands in the future, how to be good fathers. Not perfect, coming back to that, but good ones. And so in that, why are they a part of this? Why they're seeing it is because it is who we are. The other part of that is if you think through working on the us that we talked about in the last session, if you allow yourself to really be building on that, and you're doing all those things of spice that we talked about in the last episode, if you didn't see it, go back and check it out. If you're doing that, you are modeling for them what a healthy relationship looks like. You can talk to them about relationships, talk to them about all the different aspects of a relationship, but have those conversations. Something that I think is extremely important, and this hits in the Cox home as well, is we've gotten away from being able to have dinner together to where we sit down and have meals. I know that's old school. I know that's, whatever, but that opportunity just to sit and stop. My wife is so good at when we sit down at the table, just asking random questions. Sometimes the boys roll their eyes. Maybe I roll my eyes at it, but she's really good at just like, hey, what was the number one thing that made you smile in your day to day? Who did you connect with? Who did you make smile today? She asks amazing questions just to get a chance to connect. and being able to see, hey, this is a place for us to continue to grow as a family and to really set a foundation for what does that look like for them in the future. I think something that's very important for us to think about as we're talking about this and as you're setting a foundation for your home in your relationship is being really careful not to try and correct the other person's mistakes or your mistakes of your past in relationships through them. So what do I mean by that? If you think about it, sometimes if there is discrepancy between you and your spouse, and maybe you're a little passive aggressive, and you are trying to fix things in your children that you would want taken care of in your spouse, that becomes this thing called triangulation in the therapy world, where you're pulling someone in inappropriately. Your child should not be the example or the scapegoat. So not getting to a place where you are trying to correct your spouse or change things in your spouse indirectly through your child. So be really careful about that as you're walking through and things that we begin to see. So there's just some quick tips, some things to think about. So the next 3 weeks, as I told you, our boys are going to be jumping in, and they're coming in, and they're going to be coming individually. Our boys are all 3 completely different humans. And hopefully you get to see their personalities and the difference of their personalities. But why did I want to bring them in, and why do I even do this simple episode? Is because I am a person about practicing what I preach. I didn't jump on and do a podcast just for the sake that I could have an ego and do a podcast. I really hope that as you hear stories about my life, hear stories about my family, about the work that I do, there's some things that you begin to take and to begin to apply. This concept of family, y'all, is very much the top of my priority in the work that I do. I really do feel like families are really getting divided. We're losing this definition of family. And I feel the calling to bringing families back to being strong. I do believe that the foundation starts with the couple, and the couple begin to set the pace for what's going to happen in the lives of their children. Obviously, our kids can get to an age of accountability where they're going to make their own decisions and go their own way. But I guarantee you, one of the greatest rewards is watching my sons become great husbands and great fathers. So as we move into next week, we're bringing the boys on one at a time. I don't know which one's coming first, so just look forward to coming in and checking it out. We're going to step in, and I want you to get an opportunity to see how we mess it up, but also some things that we're doing pretty well and pretty excited about, and to build a future of grandchildren, all those different things beyond us. One thing I will say, and you're gonna maybe see the playfulness with us and our boys. We have 3 boys. I am a baby magnet. I have already determined and told my wife that when we have grandchildren, that she's just not gonna exist. Like, if maybe you've seen those different reels that when the grandparents come over and the kids run out the door and grandma's first up and her arms are wide open and they completely run around the grandma to get to the grandpa, that's gonna be us. I am gonna spoil children, my grandchildren, and of course send them back. But I'm excited. I'm excited about that because I'm hoping that God will allow for us to have the opportunity to see the things that we're investing in. We don't know fully of what God is doing in the lives of our boys until they get to that point to where they're experiencing life as husbands and as fathers. But I'm excited about it. So thank you again for tuning in. Please go in and check out the website. And if you need any more direction on coaching, you want to book me to speak, any of those things, all of that can be done through the website, michaelscox.com. And subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not done so already. Spotify, Apple Music, all those different places are where you can find this podcast. Please share it with your friends, and we'll see you next week.